Have you ever found yourself looking at your bank statement or maybe thinking about an investment and the decision just feels more emotional than logical? Like you sort of know what you should do, but something inside is pulling you, a different way. It's a really common thing, actually. And it turns out there's a whole lot more to successful finance than just numbers and spreadsheets. For this deep dive, we're plunging into a really fascinating book, The Psychology of Money: Timeless Lessons on Wealth, Greed, and Happiness by Morgan Housel. Our sources today are a comprehensive review of this book, and our mission really is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights from this unique perspective on finance. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, what's fascinating here, I think, is that this isn't your typical finance book. It's not full of technical jargon or, telling you exactly what to invest in.
Right.
It's much more a profound exploration of human behavior, our emotions, our ego, even our history, and how all these things really shape our financial decisions. It frames money through this lens of human psychology, which honestly is a critical shift from how most of us usually think about wealth.
And that's exactly what sets it apart, isn't it? It doesn't offer investment tips, no specific products. It just completely avoids that.
Which is actually its greatest strength, I'd argue. Housel makes this powerful case that our psychology dictates our choices way more than pure logic or complicated math ever could. So understanding ourselves, our biases, our fears, what we really want, that's often much more powerful for financial success than knowing the ins and outs of the stock market.
And the way he structured it, it makes it so accessible too. It's broken down into 20 short chapters, each one focusing on a specific powerful lesson.
Yeah, super digestible.
And Housel's style is just remarkably clear, very accessible, and he uses all these anecdotes, brilliant stories from history, his own experiences, financial markets. They really make the point stick.
They do.
The whole tone is just very conversational. It makes it perfect for anyone, really, even if you've never looked at a balance sheet, but you just want to figure out how to make wiser financial choices. So if traditional finance often misses this whole human behavior angle, what are some of these timeless truths that Housel brings up, these sort of psychological laws governing our money lives?
Well, he kicks things off with this really interesting idea in the chapter called No One's Crazy.
Okay.
He basically says that everyone has a unique view of money, and it's deeply shaped by their own life experiences. So decisions that look irrational to someone else might make perfect sense to us, given our background.
That sounds almost counterintuitive at first glance. What's he really getting at there? Why is understanding that so important?
It's crucial because it builds empathy and maybe more importantly, self-awareness. Think about someone who grew up during, say, severe post-war scarcity, maybe rationing, limited resources.
Right.
Their view on financial risk, on saving, even just the value of a dollar, is going to be fundamentally different from someone, say, raised in a tech boom where everything seemed easy and opportunities endless.
Yeah. Totally different worlds.
Exactly. And neither perspective is inherently crazy or wrong. They're just products of very different times and experiences. Housel actually says people do some crazy things with money, but no one is crazy. And it's not just about being nice to others. It's about recognizing that these deeply ingrained views shaped by our personal history can sometimes blind us to other perspectives or even to objective facts.
That's a powerful way to think about it, taking the judgment out. And speaking of things maybe outside our control, Housel also talks a lot about luck and risk, right?
Yeah.
How they play a bigger role than we often admit.
Oh, absolutely. He uses the comparison of Bill Gates. Now, obviously, Gates is brilliant, hardworking, no question.
Sure.
But Housel points out he also had incredibly rare early access to a computer when almost nobody else did. That was, partly luck.
Okay, I see.
So the point is recognizing what's actually in your control versus what isn't. That's vital for a realistic financial outlook. You can't control luck, good or bad, but you can control how you prepare for risk, building systems that can withstand bad luck.
Focus on the process, not just hoping for the best outcome.
Exactly. Resilience over prediction.
And this idea of understanding limits, like what's enough, ties right into another core lesson he discusses. The danger of never enough, that endless chase for more.
Yeah. He explores the perils of that unchecked ambition really well.
How so?
Well, he uses these really stark cautionary tales. Think of people like Rajat Gupta or Bernie Madoff.
Oh, right.
I mean, these were individuals who, by any objective standard, had more than enough. Money, power, success, everything.
Yep, they risked it all.
Exactly. Driven by this insatiable desire for even more, they ended up breaking laws, betraying trust, and ultimately losing everything. It's a powerful warning that ambition, unchecked, can become destructive.
It really makes you think. And there's that quote from the book that just nails it. There's no reason to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need.
That's the one. So simple, but so profound.
It really is. And it connects to another, maybe slightly counterintuitive point Havel makes about how much more impact your savings rate can have compared to chasing, super high investment returns.
Yes. He argues pretty convincingly that your personal savings rate is a much more powerful lever for building long-term wealth than the exact return you get year to year.
How does that work practically?
Well, it really boils down to this.
Right.
You don't necessarily need a massive income to build wealth. What you do need is discipline in saving consistently and then giving that money lots of time to grow.
So control what you can control.
Precisely. It's often overlooked because it's less glamorous than picking winning stocks, but it's far more reliable and it's directly in your hands.
And speaking of time, Housel really hammers home the idea of compounding. We hear about it, but he makes you feel its power.
Oh, absolutely. He uses Warren Buffett as the classic example.
The ultimate long game player.
Totally. And the striking thing isn't just that Buffett's a brilliant investor, it's that a huge chunk of his net worth, like the vast majority, actually piled up after his 60s.
Really? That late?
Yeah, simply because he started investing incredibly young and then just stayed consistent. For decades, letting time and compound interest do their thing.
Wow.
It's a profound lesson, isn't it? Most of the really big wins in finance, and maybe life, come from just keeping at something consistently for a long time, longer than feels natural sometimes.
That definitely requires patience. Okay, another big idea he brings up is tails drive everything. What exactly does he mean by tail events?
Right, so this concept suggests that most significant financial outcomes aren't driven by the average day, the normal ups and downs. They're driven by a few extreme outlier events, the tails of the probability distribution.
Like market crashes. Or huge booms.
Exactly. Think about the tiny percentage of companies that drive most of the stock market's overall returns, or how one massive crash can wipe out years of steady gains. These are tail events.
Okay, so what's the practical takeaway then?
The implication is pretty big. Instead of obsessing over predicting every little market movement, it's much more effective to understand and prepare for these rare but powerful tail events.
How do you prepare for something rare and unpredictable?
By focusing on resilience, building a portfolio and a financial plan that can survive the bad tails and maybe even benefit from the good ones without you needing to know exactly when they'll happen. Protecting the downside, letting the upside take care of itself.
That makes a lot of sense. Build for the storms, not just the sunny days. And finally, there's a lesson that feels especially relevant today with social media and seeing everyone else's apparent success. You're not alone. But also, crucially, don't just copy others.
Yes, that's a huge one. The danger in just mimicking someone else's investment strategy, maybe someone famous or someone who seems successful online.
What is the danger, specifically?
The danger is that people invest based on their own unique situation. Their goals, their time horizon until they need the money, their personal tolerance for risk, their emotional triggers around money. It's all deeply personal.
So what works for them might be terrible for me.
Precisely. What works for a 25-year-old tech millionaire saving for retirement decades away is probably disastrous for someone nearing retirement needing stable income. Housel really emphasizes that a personal strategy tailored to your life is essential.
Right.
Just chasing what's popular or copying others can lead you down a path that's totally wrong for your own needs, setting you up for failure both financially and emotionally.
This deep dive really highlights the book's unique approach. So just to summarize, the strengths seem pretty clear. It's this seamless blend of behavioral economics, psychology, finance.
Yeah, very smooth.
And it has this truly universal appeal, right?
Yeah.
It's not just for finance pros. It's for anyone dealing with money.
Anyone at all.
It pushes these timeless ideas, patience, humility, self-awareness, rather than quick fixes. And those stories, as we said, they make the lessons so memorable.
Definitely. Now, for balance, it's fair to mention a couple of minor critiques people sometimes raise.
Okay, like what?
Well, Some find a little repetition, especially around the importance of time and saving, though you could argue that's just reinforcing key messages.
True.
Also, if you're a really advanced investor looking for complex strategies or deep technical analysis, this isn't that book. It's intentionally broader.
Right. It's about the psychology.
Exactly. And maybe a final point is that most of the examples are quite US-centric. So readers elsewhere might occasionally wish for a bit more global context, but the principles themselves are pretty universal.
Sure, but overall, the value seems immense. So who would really benefit most from reading this or from listening to our deep dive today?
Well, I'd say young adults just starting out on their financial journey, this is pure gold. Also, any investor who struggles with the emotional roller coaster of the markets, getting swayed by fear or greed, or even people who earn a decent income but just can't seem to make progress with saving. This book offers really practical insights there.
And really, anyone just curious about why we make the money decisions we do and how to maybe do better.
Absolutely. Anyone interested in that intersection of psychology and money.
So what does this all boil down to? The core takeaway from the psychology of money, it seems, isn't about telling you where to put your money.
No, not at all.
Instead, it's about fundamentally changing how you think about money. It highlights that the hardest part often isn't the knowledge. It's mastering your own behavior, understanding that human element.
Which naturally raises an important question, doesn't it? How might understanding these timeless ideas about our behavior and money actually impact your own financial decisions, your outlook?
Yeah.
What shifts in perspective, maybe even small ones, could you make that might lead to better financial well-being down the road?
That's a great question to sit with. Thinking about all this, how might recognizing the role luck plays, or truly understanding your own personal context, your history with money, or maybe just fully embracing the sheer power of saving consistently, how might focusing on one of those change one specific financial habit for you, starting maybe even today?